I've been promising you guys a review on this little guy for years. It's finally here. How's it going, chasers? I hope you're having a kick-ass week. I'm Jesse, and this is still at the channel all about chasing the craft of foam distillation and making it a legitimate hobby. This little guy here I've had for a long time, and I promised you a review once I thought I'd used it enough to really got my head around it. The time's come. Let's get stuck in. So I think the first thing I should do is give you like a little tour of what this thing is. But I should note too that there are, I don't know, probably like 20 different designs that are really quite similar to this. It's the same concept, it's just a little cheap pot still. Let's face it, guys, most of them, if not all of the little cheap ones, are coming out of China. I don't have a problem with that. It's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing. What it does mean is that it's generally cheaper than something bought here. If you object to it for moral reasons, that's cool. I will attempt to find a link for the very same still that I have here somewhere, but they come and go, guys, and it's tricky. I'll do what I can, checking the links down below. Just suffice to say that I think a lot of them are really quite similar concepts, and yeah, you get the idea. All right, so all it is just a pot. That part's super simple. I will say that the thing does have handles. That is a good thing and a bad thing. It's nice to be able to easily throw this thing around without burning yourself. Move it around gently, I should say, when you're running, if you need to adjust side to side or up and down or whatever. It's great for that. It does sometimes suck that if you're heating with gas, you're constantly trying to not let the heat spilling over the side burn the handles. That does kind of suck. But this part here, the little pot head, is really where most of the action happens with this thing. It is just a pot lid that has had some alterations made to it. Basically, it came with a silicon gasket, which I took one look at, took one sniff of, and decided to throw that thing out straight away. More on that later. It does have a thermometer here, which is actually surprisingly accurate, considering there's no way to adjust it. It doesn't do a horrible job, but it's whatever. I don't really use the thing, to be honest, but it's there. It's set up kind of like a swan neck, I guess, so the vapor comes up through this hole here and into this chamber here. Now, the good thing about this is it's a completely sealed design. The bad thing about this is it's a completely sealed design, so we really have no idea what's going on inside of this. It should be multiple coils in a constant downward spiral until the outspout here, but I don't know. I just don't know. Water in on the bottom, water out on the top. This just came with two little stainless spigots on the end, I guess. No fittings attached to them or anything, just like a little piece of tube. I've decided to attach just garden hose parts to it because I normally run this outside on the barbecue. That's my heat source for it. So let's jump back over here and talk heat sources. You could go electric, you could go induction. With such a small pot still like this though, any fluctuation in power, if that's going through a power cycle that isn't constant, if it's turning on, turning off a couple of times a minute, you're really going to feel it with a pot this size. So I decided very early on that the best way to run this thing was with gas. You need very little power. I have a side burner, like kind of like a wok burner on the side of my barbecue. I tune that down as low as I possibly can, and then if you imagine that is the gas burner there, sitting there. If I put it like this, it just runs way too hot, so I need to kind of cheat it. I do this to essentially halve the amount of power going into the still again from the lowest setting I can get. So just be aware, guys, these things take very, very little juice to run. All right, so let's talk about sealing this bad boy. I threw the gasket away. It didn't have any sort of locking mechanism. It was literally just a gasket that fit all the way around the outside here, and then kind of just gravity fit in on top. I didn't like the idea of that gasket. It stunk like horrible, crappy plastic. I just biffed it straight away, and I simply used flour paste on this. It's pretty easy. There's a recessed groove all the way around, so you don't even need to be pretty with your flour paste. You can just dump it right on into that gap there. Easy as. Operation wise, the thing is super simple. It is just a pot still, so all you're doing is controlling the amount of power you put into it to control the offtake speed, and then the amount of water that's going into it to ensure that you're knocking down the vapor. With this setup, honestly guys, its biggest weakness in my opinion is that the condenser just doesn't have enough grunt. You can be running water in through here as fast as you like, but you have to be really, really careful to run it very slowly to not be spurting vapor out the end. I mean, once again, the thing's tiny, so you're going to run it super slow anyway, but you know, for stripping runs or something like that, it's not going to work very well. What I have seen some people do is add a secondary condenser on here, attach another one on. I never get around to doing it. I don't really need it for this setup, so I never bothered. The offtake spout is also at a very low angle and does not extend very far past the end of the still, so you tend to get things kind of dribbling off in funny directions and not going where you want them to. Easiest way to fix that is a little bit of copper. Pop it in the end and just kind of twist it to where you want it to go, and the liquid will just like run off it and then drip from the end. Easy fix. Build quality for something like this, honestly, I don't care. It doesn't leak. Some of the welds are, you know, far from sanitary. They've got little pit holes and stuff here and there, but nothing leaks, and it just does what it should do. I don't care. You know, for $100, I think this thing cost originally. Someone gave it to me, to be fair. A buddy gave it to me, but he bought it for $100 USD off AliExpress. I mean, what do you expect, guys? It is what it is. Let's talk about what I would use it for and what I would not use it for. I didn't mention there's no copper anywhere in this, guys. So if I was doing something like whiskey, I would probably try and cram some copper in here. Once again, just, you know, bits of copper scrubbies up into that hole. What I use it for almost exclusively is small gin runs. So when I'm trying to test out a gin, if I'm going to infuse something or macerate something and then redistill it, I love this thing because I can literally do a liter or two in here, small volumes, experiment with a recipe, or, you know, shoot a recipe for you guys to watch and not have to charge the still with 20 liters of neutral at 40%. You know, it's wonderful for that. Making whiskey or rum or something like that in it, I don't know, man, that would be tough. I would very much advise, if you were going to do that, fill it low, because it will puke, it will boil over easily. There's not a lot of headspace. Run multiple runs, you know, so make your wash 3 to 4 times the size of the volume you're putting in here. Collect the low wines and then pop it back in. Could you do that? Yeah, 100% you could do that. You know, could you make much whiskey in a prompt time frame? No, you couldn't. It'll be difficult. But you're getting into it for $100. $100! As opposed to going out, you know, and dropping $3,000 or something on a still. I think that's really what this comes down to, guys, is that it is an awesome little piece of equipment if you know its use case. If you know where you're going to use it and how you're going to use it. If you're thinking of getting into the hobby and you just want to try something to see if you can pique your interest and whether it's something that's going to hold your interest, yeah, totally get one of these and get ripping with it. Get started. If it's the difference between, you know, buying one of these or not getting into the hobby, do it, get one. And if you do end up upgrading and getting a, you know, a larger still, you've still got this for all sorts of things like the little gin runs, like macerating fruit and redistilling it, whatever you want to do. Great little still for that. It's the same, you know, for me, for photography stuff, right? Everyone's always saying, oh, buy the expensive glass, buy the good lenses, because it's an investment in the future. Yes, if you know that you're going to be in the hobby, if you know you're going to be in the profession, whatever it is, for 20 years, and that's a given, don't piss around with cheap stuff, buy the expensive stuff. But if you don't know if you're going to get into the hobby, I don't see any problem with buying something cheap just to give it a nudge, just to try it and get into it. So if I didn't have this thing and I was in my exact situation now and I've got, you know, I got a 20 litre still, I got a 50 litre still, I got another 50 litre jacketed still sitting over here, would I buy this thing? Yeah, hell yeah, I would buy this thing. I'm not going to use it to get into the hobby. I'm already pretty solidly in the hobby. But what I would do is 100% go out and buy one of these for the ability to do small gin runs. It is excellent for that. So if you've been thinking about getting into the hobby, guys, or you've just been thinking about, you know, what are these things good for and what do I think of them? There you have it. I hope that gets the idea across. Yes, it's made in China. Yes, the quality is not great. Yes, it's tiny, but I don't care. I know all of those things. I understand those things, and it still has a use case. So before we get out of here, a huge thank you to the Patreons. You guys rock. You know it, I know it, everyone else around here knows it. If you've been listening for any length of time, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for keeping the channel going. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you think someone else you know might enjoy the video or learn something from it, share it with them or share it around on social media, whatever you can do, that'd be awesome. And I'll catch you next time, guys. Keep on chasing the craft. See ya.